Tonight, we're uncovering one of the most chilling abduction cases in modern American history. A story that proves just how quickly an ordinary day can turn into a nightmare. This is the terrifying true story of Abigail Hernandez, a 14-year-old girl who vanished on her way home from school. And weeks later, her mother found a strange letter, handwritten, signed by her daughter. But the words inside? Terrifying. For 9 months, her family lived a nightmare. What really happened in the 9 months that followed is darker than anyone could imagine. Born on October 1998 in Manchester, New Hampshire, Abigail, or Abby to her family and friends, was the youngest daughter of Ruben and Xenia Hernandez. She grew up with her older sister Sarah in what seemed like a typical American family. Her mother worked tirelessly as a nurse, her father was a sales agent, and although her parents eventually separated, Abby remained close to both of them. She was especially bonded to her sister Sarah, her confidant, her best friend, the one person she trusted with everything. Friends described Abby as brave, friendly, and endlessly optimistic. At only 14 years old, she was already dreaming big, ready to take on life. But then came October 9th, 2013, a day that would shatter everything. It was just another school day in Conway, New Hampshire. Fall was setting in, the air was crisp, and Abby was excited. Her 15th birthday was just days away, and she was planning a hiking trip with her outdoor club. That morning, she slipped on a brand new pair of hiking boots, a gift she couldn't wait to break in. But by the end of the school day, the boots were rubbing painfully against her feet, leaving blisters. Still, Abby didn't complain. Instead of taking the bus home, she decided to walk. It should have been a short, uneventful stroll. But Abby never made it back. When her mother, Xenia, realized Abby wasn't home by 5 p.m., panic began to creep in. Calls went unanswered. Texts delivered no response. Abby's phone was switched off. At first, Xenia tried to stay calm, thinking maybe her daughter was with friends. But as hours passed with no word, fear took over. By nightfall, Xenia and Sarah were at the police station, filing a missing persons report. Because Abby was a minor, the police wasted no time. Her face was plastered across local news stations, her description printed on flyers, and volunteers, hundreds of them, searched parks, forests, rivers, and abandoned buildings. The last signal from Abby's phone had been traced less than a mile from her home. Yet, she was gone. Detectives immediately started looking at those closest to her. Her boyfriend, Jimmy, just a year older than Abby, was grilled by investigators. Could he have had something to do with her disappearance? Did they argue? Did he have a motive? But Jimmy's alibi was airtight. He had been at sports practice, a school band rehearsal, and his grandfather's birthday party, all confirmed by teachers, family, and friends. He was heartbroken, desperate to help. And so, the case went cold. Weeks turned into months. There were no witnesses, no clues, no leads. It was as if Abby had vanished into thin air. Then, 6 weeks later, a shocking twist. One afternoon, Xenia opened the family's mailbox and discovered a handwritten letter. It was from Abby. In shaky handwriting, the teenager wrote that she was alive, healthy, and safe. She told her mother and sister that she loved them, but she couldn't. Say where she was. At the bottom of the page, she had written a haunting phrase, "Dreams come true." Handwriting experts confirmed the letter was real. Abby had written it. The FBI now had to consider the possibility that Abby had run away voluntarily. Rumors spread. Maybe she was pregnant, Maybe she had left with someone willingly. But Sarah, her sister, shut those theories down immediately. Abby told Sarah everything. If she had been pregnant, Sarah would have known. The FBI leaned toward another explanation, that Abby had been forced to write the letter, that she was alive, but being held against her will. And tragically, they were right. It's time to meet the man responsible for turning Abby's world upside down. Nathaniel Nate Kibbe. Born in July 1980, Nathaniel grew up in the same town as Abby. From an early age, he was trouble. He was already facing charges for assault, theft, and drugs. In 2013, just months before Abby vanished, Kibbe had already attempted to kidnap another teenage girl near a school bus stop. She managed to fight him off and escape. Shockingly, despite witnesses and evidence, the case was dropped. He faced no consequences, and now he was watching Abby walk home. As Abby limped along in her too tight boots, a pickup truck slowed beside her. He smiled, asked if she wanted a ride. Abby politely refused. But the truck didn't leave. It crawled along the curb as Kibbe kept talking. He noticed her limp, asked about it. When Abby admitted her boots had given her blisters, Kibbe offered again. "Hop in, I'll get you home faster." She hesitated, but he seemed harmless, even kind. After a moment, Abby gave in. She opened the passenger door. It was a mistake that would change her life forever. At first, he made small talk, joking to calm her nerves. But soon, he pulled into a deserted parking lot, claiming he needed to grab something from a hardware store. Abby grew uneasy. She told him she could walk the rest of the way. She reached for the seatbelt, planning to escape. But she never got the chance. Kibbe grabbed her, pulled out a gun, and pressed it to her face. He tied her hands and feet with zip ties. He shoved a cap over her head so she couldn't see. And when she tried to peek from under the brim, he shocked her with a stun gun until she went unconscious. When Abby opened her eyes, she found herself inside a tiny, windowless shipping container, hidden deep inside Kibbe's trailer park. There, her nightmare began. Kibbe taped her mouth, blindfolded her, and placed a motorcycle helmet over her head to disorient her. Then he assaulted her, again and again, for months. He threatened her constantly. If she tried to escape, if she made noise, if she disobeyed, he would kill her family. Sometimes he was violent, other times disturbingly tender, as though he expected her to play the role of a willing girlfriend. But Abby quickly learned one thing. His moods were unpredictable. Any wrong word, any slip of defiance, could unleash his rage. She was trapped in darkness, hidden in a soundproof prison. The outside world had no idea she was right there, so close, yet so far. For weeks, Abby Hernandez lived in constant terror, locked inside a shipping container. Cut off from the world and under the control of a man who called himself her master. What no one knew, not her mother, not the police, not even the FBI, was that Abby was being held just miles from her home. At first, Abby was in shock. She thought she would never make it out alive. But she was smart. Even at just 14 years old, she began to think like a survivor. She realized something important. If she wanted to live, she had to play along. So she told Kibbe she didn't judge him, that she understood he had made mistakes. She even promised she wouldn't go to the police if he let her go. It wasn't true, of course, but she hoped it might keep him calm. Kibbe, however, was unpredictable. Some days he would rage, threatening her with violence. Other days, he would act like they were friends, even letting her watch TV with him. But the abuse never stopped. and the longer she stayed, the harder it was to hold on to hope. After a month, Kibbe noticed the nationwide search efforts. He saw her face on the news, heard the FBI updates, and realized the police weren't giving up. So he forced Abby to write a letter to her mother. Abby tried, desperately, to slip in hidden clues, but Kibbe caught her every time and punished her brutally. Eventually, she wrote exactly what he dictated. That was the letter her mother had found in the mailbox, 6 weeks after she disappeared. To the world, it was a mystery. Had Abby run away? Was she hiding? But in truth, she was living under the constant gaze of a man who controlled every breath she took. Incredibly, there were moments when Abby was closer to rescue than she ever realized. At one point, Kibbe faced unrelated charges for illegally possessing a firearm. Police arrived at his trailer with a search warrant. They scoured the home, looking for evidence. Abby was inside the shipping container the entire time, but no one fought to check it. The police left, completely unaware that the missing teenager they had been searching for across the state was right there, only feet away. Kibbe escaped with nothing more than a fine. Abby was left to endure more months in captivity. Kibbe tried to keep his identity a secret. He demanded she call him Master and avoided telling her his real name. But one day, Abby spotted it by accident in a magazine he had lying around. The name was Nathaniel Kibbe. It was a dangerous moment, but Abby decided to take a risk. She casually addressed him as Nathaniel. He froze. His eyes narrowed. Then he simply smirked. He didn't deny it. He didn't lash out. He just asked how she had figured it out. For the first time, Abby knew the name of the man who had stolen her life. Months into her captivity, Kibbe began to involve Abby in his criminal activities. He had started a counterfeit money operation, printing fake bills from his trailer. Sometimes he even let Abby help. It was dangerous, but it gave Abby something crucial: tiny moments of freedom. He occasionally allowed her into his trailer, let her cook meals, and even gave her books. But no matter how much he trusted her, the abuse continued. Abby was still his prisoner, and she never forgot it. By the summer of 2014, Abby had been missing for 9 months. Then, fate intervened. Kibbe met a woman named Lorraine at a bar. He invited her to his trailer, and after they spent the night together, Lorraine complained she was struggling financially. Trying to impress her, Kibbe handed her 2 $50 bills. But the bills were counterfeit. She called Kibbe, screaming that she had reported him to the police. She told him that law enforcement would soon be back at his trailer, this time searching everything. That phone call changed Abby's life. On July 20th, 2014, Nathaniel Kibbe made a shocking decision. He gathered Abby's belongings, tied her hands, put a baseball cap over her face, and drove her out of the trailer park. Was this the end? Was he going to kill her? Instead, he pulled over on a deserted country road. He looked at her and said, "Get out. And don't you dare go to the police." Then he drove off. Abby stood there in disbelief. For the first time in 9 months, she was free. She walked for hours, terrified Kibbe might come back, until she saw a familiar road sign. She was close to home. A surveillance camera captured the moment Abby stepped through her front door. Her mother, Xenia, was on the phone when she heard a voice call out, "Mom." She dropped the phone, ran to her daughter, and pulled her into a tearful embrace. 9 months of fear, grief, and hopelessness evaporated in an instant. But the nightmare wasn't over, not yet. Abby was still terrified of Kibbe's threats. At first, she refused to tell police who had taken her, afraid he would hurt her family. Only after a week did she finally reveal his name. On July 28, 2014, police surrounded Kibbe's trailer. This time, they knew exactly who he was and what they were looking for. Kibbe didn't resist. He was arrested on the spot. When investigators searched his property, they found overwhelming evidence: Abby's DNA, her belongings, traces of blood, hair, and even broken fingernails in the container where she had been held. The monster had finally been caught. Kibbe's trial began in late 2014 and dragged on for nearly 2 years. At first, he denied everything, but the evidence was undeniable. Eventually, he took a plea deal, admitting guilt to kidnapping and multiple charges of sexual assault. In 2016, Nathaniel Kibbe was sentenced to 90 years in prison, with no chance of parole for 45 years. He will be an old man before he even has the possibility of release. For Abby, it was a bittersweet victory. She told the court she forgave him, not for his sake, but for hers. Forgiveness, she said, was the only way she could move forward with her life. Her mother, however, had no such mercy. In her victim impact statement, Xenia said she hated him with every fiber of her being, but she was still grateful that, in the end, he had let her daughter come home. Abby's ordeal left deep scars, both physical and emotional, but her resilience became an inspiration. She chose to live, to fight, and to rebuild. Her story stands as a chilling reminder. Danger can appear in the form of a stranger who seems kind, who offers a helping hand. Yet, it's also a story of unimaginable strength. For 9 months, Abby Hernandez survived hell on earth, and she lived to tell her story. Not every missing child makes it home, but Abigail did, and her courage will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoy watching, please hit the like button. And if you like watching more thriller and true crime story, make sure you subscribe our channel. See you in the next video.